and travel. So, when we begin these journeys, that always becomes a telepathic situation. I realize that for all of you, depending on who you are, telepathy may be understood as being something psychic, which it isn't. Even if you look at it in the dictionary, they'll lump it in with psychic things because it's all theory. They don't know what it is. But telepathy is a true form of communication that all beings have with each other. And I'm not talking about your vocal cords or your brain or your body. This is who we are, and we communicate in a way and always have. That's a direct link through the omnipresent you, which, as you know, is not physical matter. It's not electrons or molecules or any of that. It is an energy that's omnipresent. It's a living force. And people on earth do not understand it. Almost not at all. Faith and belief will not get a person into knowing what it is, because direct experience is required by the source itself for all of us. So they're just stepping stones. Belief and faith should lead into experience sooner or later. One lifetime or another, they do.
Hmm.
Interesting, huh? I could say this: once you've crossed paths with the you could say that the source knows where you are now and is paying attention to you for the first time in maybe billion years.
Hmm.
Because we were meant to come back home a long time ago and share our experiences of running bodies on many levels, 5 in particular, and we haven't been doing it. People in the lower dimensions of time and space have not been doing that. It's taken certain gurus and master teachers lifetimes, if they're immortalized bodies, to get one student out of this trap down here. It was done so well, this what we call a failed experiment of good and evil was done so well, it backfired in a way. The allure of the physical nature of things and bodies and senses, over a long period of time, people would just began to forget, for one reason or another, their higher faculties they need to utilize to travel the multiverse and go back home. So when we go on these journeys, we're actually going back home. You have a guide, and you have very advanced master teachers that go on these journeys with us that help keep any fears you have off for the journey. And this is important because then you bring back stuff that rubs off on you from other beings and other places, and it just makes your IQ, your intelligence higher.
Hmm.
So what I'm going to do, and you can always turn your mic on, but I'm going to mute your mics from my end because we get a better recording quality this way. Okay. The beings that assist us on these journeys are not angels or archangels or any of that kind of thing. In fact, they don't even have those terms in their terminology on their worlds. That's strictly an Earth planet kind of thing. You gotta wait. I guess you've got something going on there, huh, Susan? It's okay. If Frank gets home in time to join us, he clicks in, I'll be able to let him in. But at this point, something must have come up, so he can't make it. These beings that I mentioned are human in this case, or humanoid. Close to human, but subtle differences. They generally station themselves behind each of you. This is an energetic form of projection from the Atma itself. It's not a human body. It's not an astral body. It's nothing like that. It's a human-looking, pure form projected from the core of the Atma they are, the spherical being they are, like we are. And so it doesn't matter if they could be standing behind you. It doesn't matter if your wall's right there, where your head's laying down. That doesn't affect them at all. And generally what they do is keep any subconscious fear turned off for a short time that you are required to master yourself at some point. And they do this so that we can go out together on these journeys and get the greatest benefit from them. Chantel and Tonal Teal and Don Tam and Lam Tam are just two couples of many, many, many that work in this capacity for what is going on now for people on Earth. A few people anyway. Just so you know, it only takes about 150 million people worldwide out of 8 billion to transform a world. The percentage is 1.5% or something like that. It's not very high. And you'd think we were there, but we're not. With all the UFO and disclosure stuff and everything you see on the internet, the numbers are not that high yet. We're heading in that direction. And much of that is around is still mixed with fear because of what people get on the internet. You know, fear of other countries, fear of war, fear of reptilians, fear of greys, and all that stuff. None of which is taking place on this planet anymore. As far as greys and reptilians, they're gone. They've been gone for 25 years. Another thing that's happened that should be in your awareness is the Golden Age to Iron Age concept, which was real for a time. It means an age for several million years on Earth that there's no negative nature. It's very paradisical. It goes into a Silver Age, which is the energy, the hue starts being depleted, and then a Copper Age, and then an Iron Age, which is a Dark Age. Pretty much that's the one we're in. But it doesn't mean death or darkness in the sense of evil. It means the hue is at a low ebb. It's not charged in the oceans or waters like it should be because of for one, 8 billion people shouldn't be on a planet at one time anyway. This is probably the most overpopulated planet in our entire galaxy. Yeah, it probably is. Because they don't tolerate more than 500 million. There's lots of space on normal worlds. And they don't pack people in apartments or, close together in cities like they do here. The metropolises, if you want to call them that, like that domed city back there, you can just see, as an example, are not for living. They're more research, science, and very advanced stuff goes on there. So on a planet like that there, let's just say that's like Earth but no polar ice caps, they would be at least 20 acres apart per person, which makes living an entirely different thing. There's enough space on Earth to do that even with 8 billion people, but 8 billion people will not stay here in a transformation. Some of them will be moved somewhere else to bring the numbers down here. But they have what's called, I guess you could call them a teleportation system, transporter, where you walk into an energy field and walk out another one and you're across the planet. So they don't have the problems of pollutions or cars or any of that. In most of the advanced worlds, and the Galactic Alliance alone work with this technology. But I can tell you there's no radioactive warp core driven spaceships like depicted in Star Trek out there. They don't use radioactive materials to power their vehicles or their lives. It's important to know this because otherwise there's no way for a person growing up on Earth to have any perspective on what is real and what is available, because they don't get that objective comparison on Earth at all, anywhere. Not yet. I bring this to your awareness that daydreaming is not made up in your brain or your mind, in your body. It has nothing to do with your brain at all. Imagination also has nothing to do with your brain. I know that's what they're taught on Earth, but that's all theory too. Nobody, it's all theory where they say, oh, imagination's coming from this part of the brain. That's just theory. They don't even know it. They can't access it. They can't prove it. And because medicine on this planet is so invasive, advanced medicine does not open up a body to fix an organ. They don't cut people open or do any of that. They're able to take cancer, localize it in a beam of energy, pull it all out of the body, and replace it with good tissue. And if it's an organ, they'll just swap the organs for one grown from your own T cells for a bad one. Most people's organs don't go bad in thousands of years anyway, because their telomeres on their DNA do not shrink when the cells divide. This is just higher science. And this planet, its research people are getting to the point where they understand the billion genomes plus that are on the DNA, the double-stranded DNA. But they're just switches. If you know the right sound frequency, you can turn them off or on. Unfortunately, the genetics of humans on Earth today had their DNA manipulated a long time ago, and in scenarios that most people would not want to remember, and don't. Because having anything shut down in your freedom that you once had is too painful for most people. When you have an implant or something like that, a program that's negative, then this influences how people make decisions on Earth. It just means, let's say, you know you want to wake up, you know you used to know a hell of a lot more than you know now, and something happened that's depriving you of it. The same has been true for me. You know, hard to access, or you come across something like this work, and at first people just bounce off of it. They just go another direction because there's too much fear influencing their decision making, so they don't make good choices. Now this concludes most people on Earth. Government leaders, religious leaders are making decisions every day based on some kind of fear. And so that's a wrong decision, always. The only thing that can come from fear-made decisions is destructive or negative, because fear is negative. So in the energy of the hue that permeates the lower dimensions, even up to the etheric plane, where there's a little less mix of negative with massive amount of positive, it's still got that element. So the lower worlds of time and space, from the etheric, mental, causal, astral, where all emotion comes from, and here in the physical, is influenced by a positive and negative stream, like a wave that goes up and down, a node and anode, high and low. So it's not reliable for psychics to predict and make things based on this energy field, superficially on the two lower currents that are opposed to each other. They're not supposed to be. Then one time they get something right, the next time they don't, because they're on the bottom end of the wave or the top. We have to go behind that to the energy that's behind and supporting that to see widely, clearly, and deeply without mistakes. And fear cannot be part of that, because fear and the primary source of energy that we are do not mix. It's like taking the atom that's round, right, spherical, what you really are, and attempting to put negativity in it or program it. It can't be done. What we are has no implants in it, never has. But the energy field that surrounds us allows us to float and move through the multiverse, just like a galaxy floats in this other white golden light everywhere, which isn't black. It means that that energy is around each of us in a toroidal or zero-point energy field, as scientists on Earth have termed it, more advanced ones. And it allows us to operate in the hue and travel. A field like an anti-gravitic, around an anti-gravitic ship is the same. The field around planet Earth is the same. The field around the galaxy looks the same. And those toroidal fields, those big, huge circular things that come out the south pole of our being in the north, just like a planet, is also made of the hue. And it's into that field where negative things can be planted and they can be removed. So when you look out of your eyes through what we call daydreaming as a person on Earth, and you imagine, few people do, what's it like to be on Norexilum, or a silent mentor's planet, which few have ever visited, or somewhere else, something kicks in and they just go look at something else on the internet. They get distracted, easily distracted. And people in the West, I'm finding in the States, are more easily distracted per square inch than anybody else on the planet. There's so much wealth, there's so much entertainment, and it's basically there to keep people from remembering who they are. This was not done was not done by people on Earth. It was imported to this planet. So you need to know that before you go on a journey, because it helps you see and hear things better. And it helps you have mastery over subconscious influences. Part of what we need to do is master and then get rid of fear completely. Absolutely let go all of our programming and brainwashing associated with negative things, because they're artificial. They're not a true part of our being as an Atma. When we go on these journeys, we are reacquiring the higher faculties that have been turned off or dormant for sometimes billions of years. And millions of lives you've lived, and it begins to turn them on. It begins to, let's just say that the beings we work with, pardon me, channel a form of energy that moves through them and through us. So it kind of rubs off on us. What they're able to do, we begin to pick up on this. If I send out the hue, there are others doing this with me who have been invited each and every time to join us. These are free beings. They cannot be manipulated by people on Earth. They can't be used. I do not have any kind of a control situation over any of them. We work together in co-creative harmony of free will. But I can tell you these beings cannot be manipulated by anybody on Earth, claiming they can do this or that or the other thing. They are unmanipulatable. I don't think there is such a word, but they are way beyond people on Earth. So I always approach all of them with great respect. Not reverence as in worship. I do not worship any of these beings. And they wouldn't tolerate it if I tried it. So respect is the only thing we're required to do for what you would call the Supreme Being or Source. Respect for it, know it directly, and respect for each other and all life. And this means the one requirement we have as beings, as Atmas, what people on Earth call soul without knowing what it is or what it looks like or anything, is that we learn and understand all life in the multidimensional creation, because we've been most of it. And we have the ability as an Atma to understand and comprehend it. Instant respect for life you meet from other worlds is innately within you. If they're there to help us of free will, and they don't even use money, they don't have systems like we have on this world, Earth. They got rid of that stuff a long time ago. Then this kind of thing rubs off on us. In other words, it wakes up our individual knowing of why we exist, and that is simple. We exist to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source behind all life. No one escapes this one. This is why we exist. Like gods clothed, or goddesses clothed in rags. You all have a body you show other people that looks perfectly flawless, about 36. And as women, you would be the most beautiful women, all four of you. And always about 36. It's a prototype. It's like working with Sat Nam. He shows you about a 36-year-old body that's been around forever. But it's not a physical body made of atoms. It's an original prototype. It has this human form. But the real being is the spherical being hovering above the form that he shows us. Same as you. One of the things that beings that work with us that are standing behind or around you now do is they keep fear turned off so that this higher faculty can be part of the journey. Because you've always had it, even if you've been made to forget it. or afraid to remember it for whatever reason. Daydreaming is simply you looking at something in the multidimensional creation. It can be something as grounded to earth as going to the store. But the thing of it is, you never, ever, ever will ever get to go to the store until you visualize it first. You imagine going to the store, your body follows, gets in a car and goes there, or a bike or whatever you do. This is true for everybody, but they're not taught at all growing up on this planet how to look with the same vision to other worlds and other realities. Because the same higher faculties in the atom, all those levels of teardrop shapes, function to give you the ability to know this stuff. Those abilities are not in your brain or body. They're in you. And they're just dormant for the most part. Say 14 billion years ago in some galaxy, you accidentally blew up a world, which you probably did. Not because you were evil, because you made a mistake and it's all new. And so one of the things beings did is close down or shield or bury that faculty that caused such destruction. Now that gives them less ability to think rationally and to choose better. And you multiply that times a billion years and many lives, and pretty soon, one reason or another, you become vulnerable. You end up on Earth with no memory about anything. I mean, zip, nada, nothing, zilch. So the only way we can go as running a body on Earth is upward. We have nowhere else to go. You can't get any lower, because most people on Earth are more like animals anyway, like the animals they kill and eat. It's just reciprocal. I don't blame anybody for this. You can't blame people on Earth for it, because stuff was done to them they don't even know was done to them. One of the ways out of this, or I'd say probably the only way out of it, is to remember what you were made to forget, one way or another. That's why we go on these journeys. That's the only reason I do them. That's the only motivation I have for doing them. Writing the books or any of that is just to do a little part in channeling in this transformation for this world. It's not taking place just for Earth. It's in the entire galaxy. Most worlds don't need this kind of massive help like Earth does, but they're also remembering a lot more and knowing how to go on journeys above the void, which is really important for them. They accelerate into such journeys almost instantly because they don't have the subconscious minds through which they can be misdirected. We do. For now. That's temporary. They're not meant to be permanent. Evil is a failed experiment, and good is not meant to be permanent either. I'm going to send out the hue and create a doorway with Ambassador Trellian and Satnam in particular, some other beings you know about now, because that we'll be able to not only go to other planets in the Milky Way, let's say. I don't take people to Andromeda worlds. It's too confusing for people on Earth the way they are. It's enough for them just grasp going to another planet, much less another galaxy, and there are billions of those. Then you multiply that times the galaxies in the astral plane where all the motion moves matter, and you get really buggled and buggered and confused trying to get through all that. If you have any subconscious mind at all, you won't make it. You'll get caught up in something and forget all about who you are and what your purpose is, which is what's happened to most people. I would have to say the hue expansion ray, which is a term coined to fit a new energy moving through what people call divine spirit. It doesn't call itself that. It's moving through an omnipresent living power. We are made of exactly the same energy as the source behind all life, Prime Creator, is as well. Identical. We are like planets. We are round. That's what soul is. It doesn't look like a planet, but planets and moons and suns and stars were made in the image of their creators. Us. At source, before we even started playing in the lower worlds of time and space when they were created. And we had a hand in it. Every one of us. So you see, in a sense, we're responsible as godly people with the one source to change things, because if we don't get into that awakening, nothing changes here. Fixed and finished, stagnant, stays the same. Fortunately, there are billions, trillions probably of beings in this galaxy now, and in other parallel and higher dimensions that are awake and moving energy in a new direction for the first time in several 100 billion years. Do you ever wonder why nothing seems to change in your lives on Earth? I mean, really change? And you struggle and you try to make some change in consciousness. Something always seems to get in your way. That's just subconscious stuff. Part of these journeys is to help get rid of that and help you become, as you once were, master over the energies in the lower worlds of time and space. So close your eyes and shut off the outside world. This is a volitional choice you make. You do it every night when you put the body to bed anyway. So, what's happening when you close your eyes, physical always, is a doorway begins to open. And it goes through the pineal gland right to the core of the Atma that's running that body, hovering above it or near the ceiling or behind it, wherever it may be. And it makes a conscious link from my voice and from the beings I work with who are collectively working in harmony together in the omnipresent power. From out in space, outside Earth's atmosphere, outside the negatively programmed atmosphere with all of its experiences still there, that have been there since life began to be brought to Earth over 65 million years ago. What that does is open a doorway. Obviously, Satnam is involved in this as well. If we're going to go above the void, he has to be involved, or we don't get there. He's like a gatekeeper. You want to go back to the upper worlds where no negativity exists? You got to go through him, or you don't get to go. Now, naturally, normally, we would respect this being and not worship him. And we would be given permission to pass through his realm, onward and upward. In this case, we've already been given that permission. You okay there, Susan, or you seem very distracted? I know it's easy to get done. We get distracted here so easily, especially when you go on a journey that can actually change your life. It's difficult down here. Nobody said it would be easy. Half the time my eyes are closed when I'm out of my body taking you on this journey, because I've learned how to do this. So I can speak to you. And the voice is a telepathic link of the you moving through me to you, from other beings as well. And for them, this is effortless. No problem at all. People on Earth are used to thinking in terms of effort and pushing matter around and struggling with gravity and bodies that get old and all this stuff. The beings we work with and beings running bodies on other planets don't have these problems. They don't have digestion problems. They don't have energetic problems or diabetes or any of these things because they don't live like people on Earth. They don't consume food like people on Earth. They have certain things turned on in their bodies that handle things differently. Their access to the hue is much greater from birth. Babies are not raised like they are on Earth. They grow up much faster because it's not practical to have to raise a child for 18 to 20 years to get them to grow up. This is just genetic problems with the DNA, with the genomes on the DNA. So they don't have those problems. You can imagine what Earth would be like if we had access to such beings, fellow beings like us, that never got born on Earth, don't have a subconscious mind, they've never been implanted, and that's the majority of life outside of this planet. That's just how backward Earth is. And man, does it ever need to be corrected. I would have to say, if a person was a dedicated Christian, Muslim, or Hindu, or any of the other number of faiths on the planet, the hue would change them from the inside out until they began to see with their own knowing what isn't real on Earth and what is real in the greater God that they're not allowed to know directly. Pray to it? Yes. Go to it? They don't believe in that. They don't think they would be advanced enough to understand it. Makes sense. But this is not true. We have the capability to know the source itself. We are source. When we go up there and blend into it, it does rub off on us. I know of no master teacher anywhere in the multiverse that would wave a magic wand and give you self and God realization, two terms people on Earth barely understand. Self-realization is simply the conscious knowing of what you are as a spherical being or soul. Not some vague idea of what it might be stuck in your back pocket or stuck in a shelf somewhere and you think the focus of your existence is the human body you're running on Earth. That's backward. So in order to change that, direct experience is important. You're hovering near the ceiling. Your body's in the trance state called sleep. Your own masters at this. You might be unconscious as the dickens in every other area, but this is something people on Earth have turned on. The ability to run the complex human nervous system, run a body. What you need to know is that there's an energy beam constantly connected from the white core of your being as an atma through the pineal gland to run that body, or the body would drop dead on the spot. Bodies do not have self-contained batteries and energy to run themselves. They're a type of machine, a highly advanced DNA composed atom molecular constructed body that is run and given energy to run by you. Isn't that interesting? But people on Earth are not taught to think and imagine outside of Earth. No, they're contrary. They're taught to imagine in case stuck, focused inside Earth's atmosphere, grounded here. And if their imagination is bent or influenced subconsciously this way, then that's all they ever remember. You go to sleep at night, you put your body in the trance state called sleep, and then you leave that body. Every one of you leaves the body every night. If you were taught to bring back what you do when you're out of that body, by using higher faculties of the Atma, if this were a normal planet, you would know exactly what you were doing all night when your body's asleep. And you would come back with full awareness of it. Part of the return of these journeys is to assist you to be able to wake up how to do that. If you can't imagine other worlds and other dimensions on your own, you need a guide. Everyone does. I do. You need someone, and many beings that are willing to help you recover what you probably haven't thought you were able to do for 100,000 lifetimes, more than that. We're ancient. There's no way you can compare the age of what we are to a human body on Earth. We were around before the lower worlds of time and space were even built. You're an Atma, not a body. You're made of an energy that comes from the source itself. And of course, we have the right to return. So when you're hovering near the ceiling, do you imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life? It can be a person, place, or thing. But it's something, your cat, it could be something that when you first imagine makes you feel good inside, there's love there. There was just instant love. That opens a certain kind of doorway. There's no negative nature in that whatsoever. It's one of the things Atmas are capable of doing. Loving and respecting all life. So there are two beings hovering beside you up near the ceiling. This is not about implant removal. This is just about keeping such things turned off, particularly the primary implant. Because ultimately you have to master control of that influence, that negative influence, in order for it to be finally removed. So that you have the wisdom to know how to never be trapped again. It's as simple as that. So we go on these journeys to help you see and know things again and how to do it. And then eventually you'll be able to have the courage to do them on your own. Or with groups of people for fun like this too. It just adds to the momentum. This couple, this man and woman, are hovering beside you, have a physical form they're showing you, standing up in the air right out in front of themselves. Looks to be about 36, male or female, perfectly flawless, perfectly handsome, godlike. And then you. You're showing them the same type of young, perfect, beautiful female body that they're showing you. Now, this is how we normally communicate with each other. We recognize each other from source, from a prototype of what existed before human bodies were even developed, with atoms and molecules and DNA, which the Say race had every hand in doing. When you suddenly find yourself at 10,000 feet in the air, or meters, depending on what you use where you are, you're still there. They're still hovering there. Your body forms that are energetic are standing in front of the sphere you are. And you can look right down through the roof of your house where you are and see us still hovering near the ceiling. We're in both places simultaneously because the Atma is a multi-dimensional capable being. The Atma is round, spherical. Bodies on the physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes are human-like. Transparent on the etheric plane, but still human-like. You know, 2 arms, 2 legs, and hair and eyes and all that kind of thing. You got a problem with your camera there, Renata? Something? Okay. It doesn't matter if you drift off to sleep or not. It's up to you. But it's better if you listen to the voice and stay aware. Because it's not your brain and body on earth lying there that is doing this journey. It is you. Then you find yourself in space, in a circle of beings standing around Ambassador Turellian of the Say Rays human race. Well, they were human. The entire race evolved their form a billion years ago and turned it into pure energy and stored the DNA pattern, 12-stranded. And one of the teardrops that surrounds the white core of their being. Trillian is an 18-foot tall body, one of the shorter Say rays. They're 18 to 25 feet tall, just giant human beings. So he's standing there in a circle. He's got his two thumbs up with closed fists, the golden light around the thumbs, which means he's bringing energy from above him, through this form. It's a perfectly sick 36-year-oldish Greek godlike body with blonde hair to his shoulders, bigger blue eyes than humans, slightly pointed ears, a white gown on, bare feet. And he's bringing a higher form of the hue and surrounding all of us in an oval energy of it. It just makes it a little bit higher kind of view around us than what is in space normally for the physical universe, which is also a golden white light. But this is brighter. He does this for your benefit, because he's bringing energy from the source here through Satnam. Up above Trillian is Etenden. They're Drens, silica-based. Cute as the dickens, 3 feet long, standing on their hind legs with their tails glowing behind them. Big, bulbous blue eyes, quite cute, adorable beings. They're master teachers, but they are not human, and they are not from Earth. They add their brilliance into this journey to help it be a benefit to you. And up above them, higher up, is Satnam. Standing there, bronze skin, bald head, gold eyes, not yellow. Looks to be about 36, but he could be 190. It's difficult to describe an ageless being. He's got 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, bare-chested, strongly, perfectly, six-pack abs, that whole bit. Little white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles, just standing there. And above him is an hourglass-shaped, whirling golden white light. It's brighter than the light he's passing through his fists. And it goes way upward into a cobalt blue, kind of a pale blue atmosphere, way up somewhere. And there's a blue-green luminous liquid light flowing around it clockwise. So this is a doorway that bypasses the astral, causal, mental, etheric planes and brings us into the void itself. The void is pure hue energy. It is not the supreme being, as many Buddhists believe, because they go there and there's nothing there but this light, so they say, well, that's God. But it's really a barrier between the lower planes of time and space and the upper realities, because there's no negative nature in them, never was. We are made of that energy as individuals. Master Ramu is standing in a circle around us near Earth with his maroon-colored robe, sandals, simple rope for a belt, swarthy skin, dark brown, coal-black eyes, short-cropped black curly beard and hair, holding his 6-foot-tall crystal quartz staff with the symbol of eternity, Ankh, from ancient Egypt on top of it. That's a device, a teaching tool he utilizes whenever you have the privilege of being able to work with him one-on-one. So you'll always see him carrying it. What you're seeing is not a physical body, it's a pure energy projection. The Atma's hovering above him. On the other side, out in space in that circle, is a Master Opellum. Opellum has pale blue skin. It's where all the ideas of Krishna came from. It's not quite so vividly blue as that. 6 foot tall, jet black hair to his shoulders, emerald green eyes, standing there with his hand up, little webs between his fingers. He's just showing you by example that this race, the Oceanians, breathe underwater or on land. They have little gill slits under their neck, otherwise you wouldn't really notice them. They're one of the most advanced humanoid races in existence, very ancient. We have such similar DNA from the Say race. We could actually mate with Oceanians. Not that they would want to, but we could. The man and woman that was assigned to each of you for the journey are standing to each side of you. And they have this youngish looking, young adult body just like you. All three of the atmas that you are hovering above those forms. You can see 12 ships. That's usually what they bring to these journeys now. 30 feet in diameter, in a circle around the outside of us. 3 semi-spheric half-moon big, half-spherical pods on the bottom hull. Thin blue antigravitic light, it's called, surrounding the blue-gray metal hulls. And you can see inside these ships. There are 4 couples, adults, 3 behind a semicircular control console with crystal and luminous controls, and 1 asleep in the back on a lounge. Couple. So when you look around these 12 ships, you see a couple sitting in the back of some of them, and they're standing beside you out in space. They put their bodies to sleep and have left them to go on this journey as Atmas, just like we are. They serve to help you stay free of negative anything, fear, the present, future that you would have normally on Earth. So for this journey, it's turned off. I'm asking some of these fellow beings that are here if there's a planet we should go to and visit before we go into the upper realities above the void. We're going to go to Zetranami 1 first. It's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, about halfway up one of the 7 spiral arms of the galaxy, quite opposite where Earth is. It is a planet, no polar ice caps, 4 times bigger than Earth. And in the distance, there are 3 moons the size of Earth with no polar ice caps that orbit this bigger planet. As we come down on the planet, we can see that we're moving across the top of the Milky Way galaxy as a group of beings around Turelian, like, I guess, the hull around the center of a spaceship. The sound here is of rumbling, soft humming, no lightning. That's the sound the physical universe makes. We travel on the sound. The light that manifests out of the same energy allows us to see where we're going. When you look in the distance, you can see this planet is orbiting, and its 3 moons, a trinary sun system. Big, hot, white, blue, giant star. These are the younger suns. Big yellow one further out, and another one further out than that. And you suddenly look down on this planet and find yourself walking along a lavender, almost violet, luminous, thin, winding path like a snake. And it leads beside the same color water flowing through a wide river. In a valley where mesas like in Sedona, Arizona exist all around. In daytime you can see a planet. You can see several of the planets that orbit this bigger one in daytime, the way this world is situated. And in the distance, a dome covering a city. It's got 3 pyramids in it. This is Oceanian technology from Upalum, his people. And those pyramids are golden-sided, 4-sided quartz caps that are devices that bring a higher energy from the upper realities into the physical universe. They are not used as burial chambers or any silly thing like that, which is not their function, actually. And we're walking along this path, and Torellian is 18 feet tall, walking beside the path, and getting our way. And there's a couple approaching us. They're 10 feet tall, a little taller for the man. Longer necks, longer arms, longer fingers, longer feet. They're in bare feet. Beautiful silken-like translucent gowns on. And they have silver-like hair to their shoulders. Almost looks like silver metal. It's not blonde, it's not white. And they have violet-colored eyes. A little bit longer ears, thin, higher cheekbones. Now this is a couple. This is a couple from Zetranamon 1, which is a central ruling planet or governing planet of a system of organized worlds that takes up a little more than half of our galaxy. Zanantalus is the male. Fresun Muntus, almost sounds Egyptian, is the female. The bodies they're showing you are human-like. But they're 3.5 million years old, unaged. And if you look, you can see the Atma they are hovering above these forms. And you know you're hovering above the beautiful 36-year-old woman form that you have. And they're simply placing their hand on their chest, right hand, and respectfully greeting you to their world. So all you have to do is do that in return, and you've got friends. These people know stuff. They don't have subconscious minds. They've never been implanted. There's never been a galactic war in the worlds they run. There was in the Galactic Alliance side of things, the other half of the galaxy. That was 500,000 years ago. The Galactic Alliance and these people work in complete synchronized harmony now. So you could say that the entire Milky Way is now governed by benevolent, highly evolved, wondrous beings, not like Earth at all. Now, this is something that these two are telling you telepathically. And Torellian, he has his right hand on his chest and nods to them and moves his hand out towards all of you. And they're telling you that every one of you at some point in the ancient past knew these people. Not like anything on Earth at all. And how you ended up on Earth with no memory, as we know, was parts of its implants, parts of it has to do with losing the awareness and the ability to run higher faculties of being over billions of years. We go on these journeys to begin to reverse that process. The only way for us now is onward and upward. When we find ourselves in space around Earth, around Torellian, looking at the polar ice caps of Earth, its barren moon, sun in the distance. Torellian's pointing upward. It's very simple. Use your creative imagination. This is your ability to see things just like you see going to the store before you go there. It's the same thing. So easy for us to imagine going to the store, and seems to be so difficult for us to imagine going to another planet. But they're exactly the same thing. Just got to get used to a more expanded way that we haven't been doing on Earth growing up here. Satnam's still standing up higher in space, below this vortex. And Torellian, the body he's showing you, dissolves into the white core of his being. And then the body forms you're showing each other here is withdrawn into the white core of your being. This is energy. and has a bunch of spheres around a bigger sphere of Turelian and Satnam, who's even more massive. We're moving up into the bottom of this vortex. The sound is that of a high note of a flute pulling us upward. This is the sound you'll hear coming off the Atma plane, first realm above the void or higher. It's in a much higher form of the hue. As we move up inside this huge vortex of light, the sound becomes a higher humming sound. You begin to hear sounds like a million little crystal bells tinging, pinging, humming. You don't hear individual hits of a hammer on them, they just start ringing. We're moving up through this vortex and we appear around Turelian, all of us. In the middle of this vortex, like a button compared to the size of a dinner plate. And then we're shot upward very quickly. When we come out the other side, we are moving through an expansive, pale blue luminous atmosphere. The vortex is gone. You look below your feet, look down, you won't see it. We are in the void. It is pure hue energy from source. The sound can't even be described in human terms. It's too beautiful. But it makes you charged, uplifted. And we're moving ever upward. There are no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars, no things, no buildings, nothing here but energy. There are actually a group of beings that run this place that most visitors that travel across the void never see. It's not their function to be publicly known or socialized. In the distance, you can see Satnam just moving down, the Atma hovering above his body form, to a luminous white glowing beach. It's as far as you can see to the left and the right. And if you look left and right, it begins to curve as if it's a beach surrounding a massive land. So the first thing we're going to do is look down, find your bare feet. This is a body form, it's made of energy. Project it again, and you're wiggling your toes in this diamond-like sand. It's white, it's glowing. All the colors of the rainbow, a foot above the sand. And so I'm going to reach down with Turelian, and Turelian's offshore actually. He doesn't even need to pick up the sand, but Satnam picks up a handful as a demonstration of what we need to do. And this charged energy of this Atma plane, first realm of the higher worlds, goes into your hand, up to the top of your smiling head, into the white core of your being, and it makes the whole thing brighter. Now this sand and its gift has to do with your ability to recall or remember the life you lived and are living in the upper worlds beyond the lower worlds of time and space, because part of us never left. We are made of source energy, and that's many dimensions above this beach. In the background jungle are at least trees, fruit trees and banana trees and all kinds of trees, but they're all transparent and glowing energies moving up and down the branches. They're alive, conscious. And above them are these birds, foot long, long V-shaped split tails. Look kind of like a blue jay, with bigger bulbous eyes. Rainbow-colored feathers, just millions of colors, beautiful. And they're hovering in a circle, 2 levels, male and female, singing the hue with vocal cords to us. The Atma is hovering above them, each one of them. These are much higher genetic forms of birds. They're telepathic, they have photographic memories, they have vocal cords, they can sing, they can talk to us. In fact, all life in the Atma plane, any form of animal you can imagine, bird, plant, anything, can communicate with us. and we with them. Satnam moves up over the jungles and we simply follow him, including Turelian. As we move over the top of the jungle trees, these birds fly back into the branches. They're still singing the hue. And we pass over a garden area as we look down. You look in the distance, you can see a diagonal snow-capped mountain range. In the upper left to the lower right, and this palatial estate along the base of it, all transparent glass and beautiful materials it's made of. It's glowing. And we look down and there's a fountain, 15 feet in diameter, with white scalloped edges. And there's a statue of Satnam standing in it. This is a device. He's hovering beside it, pointing to it, demonstrating how it works. His hands with his palms out are facing down at his sides. There's a white golden light shaft of light coming down like a cylindrical form over the statue. It's coming out his palms of his hands like luminous golden white water, humming, filling this bowl in a glowing, glistening sheet that's pouring over the scalloped edges and vanishing into the ground behind a circular white marble seat that surrounds it. 12 intricately scrolled legs support this seating arrangement. You find yourself hovering as a sphere, directing this projection of a perfect human body-like, to sit on this white surrounding circular donut-shaped. Well, it's kind of flat on top, though. It's not like a donut. But you're sitting on it, facing this fountain. And as you sit there, the energy from the fountain pours in a curved stream down into the top of your head, up through your being into the white core of your being. Now, this is energy that's coming from where we're going. It's a higher form of the hue than that which supports the Atma plane, Satnam's realm. Sat means true, Nam name. First prototype being in a human form you will see. So this is where people got the idea that we're made in the image of God as a human form. We're not. This is a prototype. It is not DNA. And it isn't the real being. The real being is Satnam hovering as a massive, more bright sphere of energy above this form he's showing us. This is his realm, the Atma plane. Long ago, we embarked from this plane to go down into the lower worlds of time and space, start running bodies and playing, to get experience. The old failed experiment of good and evil, good and positive and negative, was running down there. Nobody knew then what would happen. Let's just say it was created to be so effective, this cattle-prodding evil thing, that people got caught up in it universally, so that half, probably maybe even more, of what we call source was caught up in the lower worlds, running bodies, and didn't remember how to get back. This is changing for you now. We're going to move up through this shaft, this cylindrical shaft of white golden light, as a group of beings above this statue of Satnam. And as we move into this energy field, because we just shrink and go right up it, the whole group of us, we come out the other side. And we have gone to the upper atmosphere of the Atma plane. Because in the Atma plane, you see a cobalt blue sky everywhere surrounding this massive land. But there are no moons or planets or suns or stars here. There's no negative nature here whatsoever. And then we're moved up into and come out another opening until we're looking in the distance in a much brighter cobalt blue atmosphere. And in the middle of it is floating one circular landmass. It's massive. There's a white, golden, glowing beach around it, much brighter than the one around Satnam's realm. And there are 6 snow-covered mountain peaks in the center of it. And then this land goes way out, and this white beach circles the outer circumference of this land. There's a curling blue-green luminous wave that's constantly moving, gently crashing on the beach, that's rotating and revolving around the shoreline, and it's constantly moving. It is a mechanism that floats this place in the omnipresent hue that is this cobalt blue light. And if you look into this light, there is a golden white light behind it, supporting it. The sound here is like millions of men and women voices singing the hue on multiple levels all at once. You might find it interesting to note that creation is brought into reality through different sounds. And with each sound is like a holographic image of what the sound represents. So there's always a primordial prototype energy that supersedes the form that it represents. It's behind or above it or behind it. There are higher Earth planets than the one you know of, and higher parallel dimensions of the physical universe. Now we're all the way up here in what's called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It was built maybe 10 or 11 years ago now, in Earth time, by beings called silent mentors. They are the mechanics of creation. That means they hold in place and keep everything running. This Atma plane, the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, which is built between the top of the 5th plane, Satnam's realm, and the 6th realm, in a special parallel dimension between them. It was put there so that master teachers, most of whom people on Earth don't know anything about yet, and silent mentors and others could meet in a place far above any negative nature, where we can be in the middle of these beings and be benefited. They teach by demonstration, not on a blackboard or a computer. They are spherical beings made of source energy. The energy that moves telepathically between them and us changes us in ways that have never existed before. New ways. What has happened up here is that things were put into creation and tested by Satnam in the lower worlds of time and space. When they came back as true, necessary, and kind, they are implemented. So that is what the Hue Expansion Ray Academy is for. Changing creation from what it has always been into something far better, far superior. To do this, the old failed experiment of good and evil has to be replaced by something that actually works without trapping beings. That is the Hue Expansion Ray itself. And it is initiated from a plane far above here. It's initiated from a plane above the ocean of sound and light, source or prime creator. And it's brought down through the worlds, passed through the beings who are masters of these places, and then generated downward by Satnam through the void, through the lower planes, all the way back down to Earth, and down through the atmas you are, and out through the bodies you've got on Earth. And it goes through certain pyramid structures, also devices. It goes out in space and goes back to the white core, the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy, which is a interdimensional portal. And it goes up that shaft of white golden light, all the way back to source, and it never stops moving. We are made of this same energy. And what it's doing is moving this Hue Expansion Ray awareness, this changing thing, through our being as Atmas. And while it's doing it, it's passing a certain wisdom through us that gives us the ability to have the right discrimination to never be trapped again. This is important. No matter what you may think back on Earth about your ability to see things or know things, do not rely on what you tell yourself that you grew up with. That's all wrong. You're able to see and do this here because you have a guide and guides to bring you here to help you remember how to do this. That's what these journeys are for. To help it rub off on you, to help you recover what you were made to forget before you were forced to be born on Earth, because you didn't volunteer to come here. Nobody in their right mind would volunteer to come to Earth and be born here and raised dumber than a brick with everything else they once knew forgotten, because all we end up doing is making more mistakes. And it doesn't work. We are not meant to have subconscious minds at all. That we have them is artificially enforced on us. It was not our free will agreement to have them. You need to understand this or you're not going to progress, because our co-creative involvement, awakening in this process is required for us to recover being responsible co-creators with Source. And that's what we're doing here. We are in a realm so far beyond negative nature you can't even compare it at a distance. We are in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. We've moved into and going towards the central nexus. 6 snow-covered mountain peaks circling an oval white, well, it's not oval, it's round white island with surrounding blue-green luminous lake down in the basin between these 6 mountains. And there's a blue glass-like transparent tower comes up out of the outer edges of this white island. It comes up and there's an oval, kind of a flattened spherical central section, administration area, and then it goes up to a minaret point. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down into this tower. It's a device. When you look inside the base of this tower, you can see in the center of the island there's a blue stone, gold lace, about 4 feet high, glowing, curved, smooth edges, and above it is hovering a 4-foot in diameter blue crystal sphere with a radiant cobalt blue star in the center of it. And a shaft of white golden light is going into this star, and it goes down into the hollowed out interior of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Now this is rare because we don't often take people here. We're going to go into that star. We're simply going to move into it, including Turelian. We go down the shaft of light, and we find ourselves hovering near the ceiling of this huge, how do you describe it? It's a hollowed out spherical interior, kind of flattened. And down in the base, there's this shaft of white golden light coming down right through Turelian with his arms out into the center of another crystal sphere and star. And around it are 12 leather-like chairs in a circle, facing away from Turelian. And up against the inner wall of this chamber are 12 silent mentors. Very rare to meet these beings. The Galactic Alliance's advanced there did not meet them. They've known of them for over 1 billion years, but none of them had experience with them. Silent mentors are a separate order that have not had any responsibility to guide or mature or make masters or help people become masters as individual atmas. Their job is to maintain creation. Up here, the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, Satnam's realm, the divisions between the different dimensions, the galaxies, the planets, the moons, the stars, they hold that all in place. Beings do that. you can see alternating male and female standing there as goddesses and gods. Long hair of different colors to their shoulders, different colored robe, kind of a transparent satin gown to their bare feet. And there's a huge Atma hovering above them, 4 times bigger than us, bigger than Turelian. Has twice as many teardrop layers and faculties, brighter golden outer layer, and they're just showing you themselves. You cannot see facial features in these beings. They do not reveal such. You see a white light, and when you look into it where their face would be, you see levels upon levels upon levels of galaxies spinning on their axis, and they think like this. They have the ability to be in multiple places simultaneously, and to be anywhere in the multidimensional creation, from the ocean of sound and light where we're headed, and anywhere else, instantly, and take in any form to carry out a mission, and no beings in the lower worlds would even know they were there. They have never had an interaction with us before. The U Expansion Ray Academy makes that possible for the first time. So we go and meet with them where we can do it safely. And we do it in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And you find yourself, each of you, sitting in one of those white chairs in that circle, gazing up at these wondrous beings. There's an energy like a pastel golden white light coming from the face of these beings, right from the sphere above them. It's passing through your face into the white core of your being, hovering above the body. It's going into Turelian, and it's going up that shaft of light. Now all they're doing is revealing to us, between master teachers on one side, including Etta and Din, they're here too, and Ramu and Opelum, Lightsea, and many others. The man and woman that came with you on the journey are still there beside you. And they're simply showing us, by demonstration, what it's like to be in their presence. Some energy is moving between us here that has never been done this way before. So we become kind of like prototypes, don't we? A little bit of a blend of a silent mentor and a master teacher. Training goes on here that cannot take place anywhere else. And so now as a group, we're around Turelian, and we're moving up the shaft of light, and suddenly we find ourselves in a beam of light shot upwards. It's like another interdimensional doorway. When we come out the other side, we find ourselves in a massive energy field of white and silver and gold and yellow and orange, like fire, and moving and changing all around us. This is the realm of Agam Purusha. This is the realm of the raw power of creation. And this one being who's approaching us is a massive spherical being. The first thing I did when I met him was befriend him. I didn't worship him. I was not afraid of him, because this place can terrify most people. His job is to, like a transformer, generate the higher energy from the ocean of sound and light where we're headed, down into the lower worlds, in a way that allows higher energies to support lower energy. It's all the hue. It goes all the way down to Earth. And the presence of this being is behind all of us in the hue, even in space. So you're going to see me as a round spherical being, much smaller, just go right up and merge inside this being. You can see me hovering between teardrop shapes of this massive being. If you wish, you can do the same. It's a personal choice. If you ask to be friends with this being, I know that he likes friends, and he hasn't had many in eternity, so this is a good thing. We don't stay here long. In the distance, you can see a tree coming out of this massive whirling energy, no solid ground under you. And the roots disappear as far down as you can see. And the top of this tree is beyond sight. It's a huge fir, silver needle, silver tree. And there's a golden white light racing on up and down the trunk of this tree. The sound coming from it is coming from the ocean of sound and light, prime creator source, our next stop. So we move up into this tree, right through the needles, and as you pass each needle, you can see an individual world represented in each one. This is called the Tree of Life. And then we're shot up the trunk of this tree. When we come out the other end, we're still in a circle around Turellian. He's still serving as a guide. But now we're just spherical beings, no physical form. So we're like a Turellian with a bunch of us like stars circling the center of a galaxy. And in the distance, you can see what looks like a floating golden silver single galaxy, revolving in a much brighter cobalt blue atmosphere. It's just brilliant. And we're moving through individual beings, they're quite large, that circle this central island. And in the center of this galaxy, you can see a white island floating in the void in the center of it. And we're moving right between these beings. They're far beyond angels, I can tell you that. Those guys only exist in girls in the lower worlds of time and space, not here. And we're almost, you begin to approach this white island. And you find that you are hovering above this even brighter white sandy beach. And hovering the center of it is an atma, a massive atma, gigantic, thousands of layers of teardrops. And then you realize you look exactly like it. You look exactly like it on a smaller scale, like a drop of individualization in a massive being. You're part of it. You identify with it. The sound is, the music here is, or you can't even describe it in terms of orchestras on Earth. It's too beautiful. So we're drawn to go right inside this prime creator. And as we do, we move through individual teardrops, which are a type of faculty. What this is a nexus. It's not an individual being. It is a personification, you might say, of all beings and all atmas in the entire creation, focused together at one point. And so you hear a voice, and it welcomes you home. And that voice is like a baritone male, but it's also feminine. It's masculine and male and female, but it's not in genders in that sense. It is a whole, complete consciousness, and we're part of it. Now this is the way you approach Prime Creator, not by worshiping, but putting it on a pedestal. You wouldn't even be here if you tried that. There's only one command that comes to us from this source. Return home and respect all life in the multidimensional creation. That's it. We're not meant to pray to it. We're meant to go to it. We're meant to experience working with it directly. And then we find ourselves all the way back down on Earth, in atmosphere outside of Earth in space, because we can't stay in such lofty realms for very long. It's too far removed above even Satnam's realm. If we stayed there very long, your physical body on Earth would perish. It would stop working. So we're bringing back this experience to the consciousness we have on Earth. And don't think it's beyond you. It's not. And so we're in space around Turellian. Then you find yourself hovering near the ceiling with these two, man and woman, still beside you from the Galactic Alliance. The energy's moving through the ceiling from where we just came from, down through your physical body that should be in the trance state called sleep. It basically is. And it's going through you, and it connects to 3 pyramids stationed on Earth now. 2 in the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 1 in a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas, Then it goes out in space. It goes through a bigger pyramid, which classified people on Earth know is hovering between two stationary asteroids in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of what was a planet between Mars and Jupiter. It is not made of physical matter. No one can approach it, attack it, or do anything with these things. They are controlled by the silent mentors, and no one in their right mind would ever mess with one of them. And that energy is beamed out to bigger pyramids that are stationed between individual stars now. Then it goes into the white core of the axis of the Milky Way galaxy, and then up the shaft of light back home. So this is what we bring back home. A planet, we visited one planet, Zientarnamon 1, to meet with two beings who run hundreds and hundreds of millions of world systems, oversee them. Xanantalus and Fresumuntus. Fellow beings. Now, these masterful beings know who they are. And so, this energy moves through you, your physical body. You can see there's no implants in that energy field around your body, people call the aura. The primary implant is still there, but you're gaining mastery over it. That's the main thing. Because at some point, these Galactic Alliance friends will remove it. When you've gained enough wisdom to know how to run these higher faculties again properly. So you retain the wisdom of know how to stay free when that subconscious mind is gone. There's a training involved. When you're ready, open your eyes. Or be present here. It's difficult to keep the bodies from squirming around on Earth because we're accustomed to being trained and misdirected differently growing up here. But we're back here. And if you would all turn on your microphones, please. Just turn on that little mic symbol. Yeah, your little symbol, your little microphone on Zoom, it looks like a microphone. Probably has a little red diagonal line through it. You just have to turn that on. Hi, Lee. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
You know where it is? It's these two little controls. One looks like a video camera. One looks like an audio with a green going up and down it like a microphone. And if it's off, it'll have a diagonal line through it. There you go. Okay, so Renata, do you know how to turn on your mic? Can't hear you yet. I'll ask you to unmute your, see if you can do it. There
Hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Back on out, it's a hard landing.
Oh, looked like you were having a little bit of a rough time moving your body around through the whole experience, huh?
No, my phone went out of charge, so I had to go somewhere where I'll charge it.
Oh, that's something you got to think of ahead of time, but I know you'd forgotten to join. So I'm glad I called you and reminded
So
you.
am I.
It's good.
Thank you.
Margaret, you've done it. You've got your mic on.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
You
it's
can hear me?
Yeah, oh, sure. Now you know
Yeah.
how to do it. Susan, how are you doing?
Good. That went by so fast. I can't believe that much time went by.
No, we didn't start till 20 after, so it's about an hour and a half
Mhm.
total.
Not
And
so much.
I try to keep them down to that level now. We didn't get
But
started for a long time.
it seemed short, but it was a
Yeah,
long time.
it did.
So it's 9:49, 9:50 where you are in the East Coast.
Right.
And it would be heading towards 12 noon for Margaret.
11:49.
Yeah, that's right.
11:49, yeah.
Now, we're still recording. Do any one of you individual wonderful beings want to talk about any of this or share anything or make comments in it that you would like on the recording? For the benefit of others, I would say. It's up to you. You don't have to.
It has to kind of mature. I have to think about it. I know I had questions, but it was pretty overwhelming.
Well, this is the way returning to source is for the human consciousness. It's pretty overwhelming. But let's face it, if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us?
That's right.
No one.
No.
Yeah, it needs some practice, though.
Of course, that's completely normal. Even nodding off, going to sleep, waking up, coming back, it happens. This is nothing.
I need some practice.
Yeah, don't feel ashamed about it. It's just normal. It's part of how we get. Let's say it's part of how we change.
You know, you're blending in and out. But
Blending in and out on your internet.
I've lost him.
I'm still here. We can hear you. And
Hello?
we can hear you and see you. We can see you.
Now I can hear you.
Good.
You're kind of blending in and out sometimes.
Yeah, that's your internet. Just
Yeah. Spectrum, what do you expect?
oh well, it's the planet Earth. But I was trying to tell you is don't be worried about any of this. It's recorded. You know,
Nothing I can do about it.
I could have done this thing where I charged like a monthly subscriber fee and had you guys go to the website to access these videos and all that. But I just send you a copy of it because I don't want to get into all that nonsense. You know, I just want to. You'll be able to play this back later.
Yeah, it's gonna be on YouTube, right?
Yeah, these
Yeah,
journeys,
that's
the group
perfect.
journeys. Yeah, you can watch it there. You can, but you need to download it to your own computer within the first day or two. Otherwise, I'll delete it from my Dropbox account to make room for other journeys. So when you get a Dropbox invitation link, you just click on the link,
Yeah, I did
download it to your own computer before you try to watch it. Because if you try to watch the whole thing at Dropbox, it could be distorted. So you're supposed to download it to your own computer, then play it back on your own computer.
Okay.
It has to be the computer, not the phone.
Well, the phone doesn't give you a very big viewing screen, does it?
Well,
Very tiny screen.
yes, but there's not too much to view. Everything is to hear.
That's right. So yeah, of course you can play it back on your phone if you got a good
Yeah.
signal, you know, so it doesn't break up on you. Sure you can. Yeah.
Well, that since it was my signal, if I replayed, I guess there's no cutouts from you then.
That's correct. There's no cutouts.
Wonderful. Okay,
So you
that's great.
I'm glad you could join us. I'm glad you all could join us. I don't know what happened to Frank. Find out later. And if you
Hope he's
ladies,
okay.
if you want to go on more of these, we'll not only go to other planets, we'll go to other areas of the Hugh Expansion Ray Academy, explore some of those teaching facilities because they're
Yes,
absolutely amazing what's done there.
Yeah, that would be nice.
yes,
Yeah, that would be lovely.
I'm in.
I'm
I'm
in.
in. We're all in. We're all
So
in.
what do you think we should do this in another week or 2 weeks? You tell me what you think.
Give it a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 weeks.
Okay, I'll notify all of you a little later, okay? See if we can get
Okay,
on
well-
another journey. When I say there's teaching facilities, there's thousands of them in the Hugh
Thousands.
Expansion Ray Academy. Where we
Okay.
went was a primary focus. It's inside the hollowed out interior. And that deals with silent mentors and it's something we connect with before we go all the way to source. It's one way to get to source from the Hugh Expansion Ray Academy. It's not the only way.
Hmm.
There are many ways to
Okay.
go upward from there. So
Okay.
we'll do that. Any questions any of you have?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay, expect I will get this. The video has to be, what do they call it? Transcribed.
Edited.
No, not edited. It's transcribed in another form.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I download it to my computer, upload it to Dropbox, and then I send it to all your emails. It'll
Wonderful.
But it'd be.
Thank you so very much, Scott.
It
Have
will
a
be-
happy
Yeah.
4th of July.
Thank you.
Oh, you've got 4th of July tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just be in the house here. I won't be doing anything with it. It's too hot outside.
It is hot.
But
It was
you'll
100
get a
degrees
drop-
here.
You'll get a Dropbox link. It's 110 here.
Where?
Reading.
Oh,
55
California.
5 minutes south of Mount Shasta, Northern California.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's hot.
No, it's going to
That
be
should be
118 one of these days, but it's dry heat. It's not humid.
I know, yeah.
Okay, then I will say
Okay, well, thank you
onward
very
and
much.
upward to all of you.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Scott.
My
Good night.